Zimbabwe now, and the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is expected to announce presidential election results at 10 p.m. tonight. eNCA's Aldrin Sampear is close to the MDC headquarters in Harare, and he joins me now. Aldrin, listen, we saw the police spokesperson coming out. They had that press conference, and now they're saying it's confirmed 6 people were killed yesterday by the army and 14 people injured. But when the questions were being put to the police spokesperson, did anybody find out or ask them about the actual soldiers that did the shooting itself? Is there an investigation taking place there?
Well, I actually went up to go and ask about this, whether the police have been able to confirm who are the perpetrators behind the shooting that took place yesterday, leading to the deaths of these 6 people. And she indicated that investigations are still underway to determine exactly who are the perpetrators. And remember yesterday as well, when we had the Minister of Home Affairs, as well as the Police General, who also indicated that investigations are still underway. So at this point, we don't know who exactly killed these people. The police wouldn't confirm that as yet, as they say that investigations are continuing. But what we do know is that the soldiers and the army who were on the streets, on the ground, going through the streets of Harare, were shooting live ammunition. And it was during those shootings that we have these 6 people who had been killed. And the Human Rights Forum of Zimbabwe also saying that they condemn the actions of the army, saying that the force that was used was disproportionate, and also calling, like Nelson Chamisa, the MDC Alliance leader, saying that there must be an investigation and the perpetrators must be held liable. You'd remember that the president of the country has already said that the MDC leader, Nelson Chamisa, as well as the entire leadership of the MDC must be held liable. They must be held liable for the loss of life as well as for the property that has been damaged.
Okay, Aldrin, I'm finding that strange when 26 protesters were arrested, and the police spokesperson herself said that they were using video footage from people's phones and pictures, so forth, to identify some of those protesters who were maybe damaging some of the stores and so forth. And surely they can use the same videos and same pictures as well to identify. Clearly, we can see some of those soldiers who are doing the shooting as well. Take us through Nelson Chamisa. He came out and spoke to the press a little bit earlier on.
Yes, he was at a local hospital where he met the families of some of the deceased, and just an impromptu press briefing outside the mortuary at this hospital, speaking about what has been happening. Also, as I've indicated earlier on, saying that there must be an investigation on how the police or rather how the soldiers were allowed to go onto the streets, armed soldiers were allowed to go on the street and shoot into protesting citizens. He says that this was not an MDC Alliance protest, but rather it was a protest of the people of Zimbabwe who want to make sure that their voice is heard. He says that as it stands, his party still believes that he is the president, will become president of the country if the votes are not rigged. He says that from the information that they have, at least they believe that he is the victor. He has the popular vote compared to Emerson Mnangagwa. However, though, he also goes further to say that as it stands at the moment, they are not disputing or querying the national results for the National Assembly. And you'd know that according to those results, as it stands at the moment, the ZANU-PF has scored a decisive victory, having a 2/3 majority. But I just quickly want to speak about what's currently happening on the streets since the police and the army have been patrolling the streets. Since yesterday, it has been a quiet town. It's normally not as quiet as it is right now. Just seeing a few cars passing by this MDC, the MDC headquarters, the Morgan Sangarai house. Normally it is much busier than it is right now. Normally you have a lot of people passing through the streets and vendors still at around this time on the streets, but this is not the case. Earlier on today as well, during the day, the same thing. People not coming through to the town, and various shops were closed as well. Speaking to a taxi operator who was telling me that he has been struggling to do business, as some people, he even made an example of a passenger or 3 passengers that were in the taxi that he was bringing here to the CBD, and after they received a call that they should not come to town because of fears that violence could erupt again, then they returned back home. They didn't come to town. So that has been the case here in the Harare CBD, as the police as well as the soldiers continue to patrol the town. And obviously Charamba indicating early on that the police will remain and the soldiers will remain on the ground.
Okay, Aldrin, and finally, are we still on track for ZEC for that announcement for the presidential race?
Well, yes, everything still seems to be on track for that 10 o'clock announcement. Earlier on, we also spoke to the spokesperson and the commissioner of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, indicating that the announcement will be made around 10 o'clock. But I think, Tony, something that's very important is the issue around whether the political parties, including the MDC Alliance, will sign the results slip, considering that the MDC Alliance has raised some issues with the V11 forms. The V11 forms, these are forms that have the results of all the various polling stations, about 11,000 polling stations across the country. And as I've indicated before, Nelson Chamisa saying that from their constituencies, from the officers at the constituency levels, they believe that Nelson Chamisa has the popular vote, that he will be president-elect of Zimbabwe, and 10 o'clock will be confirmation, or it will go the other route when the commission finally makes that announcement round about 10 o'clock. And of course, we will bring you that announcement live.
All right, interesting times indeed. Aldrin Sampear standing by for us in Harare, Zimbabwe, and we'll be with him at 10 o'clock to see if that announcement will actually be made.